Palpatine didn't fear Yoda the most. He didn't fear Mace Windu the most either. He didn't even fear Anakin. Not yet. He feared Qui-Gon Jinn. And if you think about that for even a second, it's a strange choice. Qui-Gon wasn't the most powerful. He wasn't the most decorated. He wasn't even on the Jedi Council. In fact, the Jedi Council kept him at arm's length because he kept questioning them. And that's exactly the point. Today I want to talk about why Qui-Gon Jinn is the best model to showcase the difference between productivity and productiveness. Why I wrote about him in The Productivity Diet, and why his example runs even deeper in the book that I've been working on for the last few years. May the 4th be with you. Let's get into it. There's a particular line from Revenge of the Sith that I find rather curious.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes.
On the surface it sounds wise. Flexibility good, rigidity bad. But here's the irony I wrote about in The Productivity Diet. The Jedi themselves deal in absolutes. They forbid attachments, believing that emotions will lead to the dark side. They impose strict codes dictating what a Jedi should and shouldn't do. They insist that balance in the Force requires rigid adherence to their teachings. And what does that cost them? Their unwillingness to embrace flexibility is what blinds them to the rise of Darth Sidious. Their rigid philosophy is ultimately what pushes Anakin further toward the dark side. The very thing they warned against, absolutes, is the very thing they were practicing. Sound familiar? Well, it should, because traditional productivity advice does the exact same thing. Wake up at 5 a.m., batch every task, never multitask. Follow the system and you'll succeed. These aren't guidelines, they're commandments. And when you can't keep them, the system doesn't question itself, it blames you. The one Jedi that does not deal in absolutes? Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn questioned the rigid rules of the Order. He followed the Force as he understood it rather than blindly adhering to dogma. He believed in instinct, adaptability, and trusting the moment, rather than forcing events to fit a predetermined structure. In the Productivity Diet, I laid out what that looks like as a productivity model. He focused on what was needed in the moment rather than following a rigid structure. He understood that rules are tools and not constraints, guidelines that should serve the individual, not control them. And he embraced the idea that wisdom comes from adaptability, not blind adherence to principles. Compare that to what most productivity systems ask of you. Rigid productivity, the Jedi Council's approach, follows strict rules that claim to work for everyone. It ignores individual differences and changing circumstances. It encourages guilt and frustration when the system doesn't work perfectly. Qui-Gon's approach? Treat rules as guidelines, not absolutes. Acknowledges personal rhythms, working with energy rather than forcing structure. Allows for experimentation, and understands that productivity is dynamic. What works today may not work tomorrow. Here's the line that I kept coming back to when I wrote that chapter. Rigid productivity methods fail because they assume you are static. Real productivity works because it allows for flexibility. Like a Jedi learning to use the Force, productivity is something you engage with, not something you control. The last part is the key. You engage with it. You don't control it. Here's where I want to take this further than I did with the Productivity Diet. At the time, I framed Qui-Gon as a model for flexible productivity, and that holds. But I've spent a great deal of time since writing a book that goes deeper than productivity entirely. And when I look back on Qui-Gon now, I don't just see a flexible productivity model. I see someone operating from productiveness. There's a difference, and it matters. Productivity is the activity of producing. It's about doing, output, results. It's a measure. Productiveness is the state of being productive. It's about how you live while doing. It makes space for quality, for context, for you. It's not about how much you did. It's about what it added up to for yourself and for others. Qui-Gon wasn't optimizing. He was oriented. He wasn't racing through tasks. He was attuned. He wasn't chasing metrics. He was following principles. He wasn't asking, how much can I produce? He was asking, what does this moment actually call for? That's productiveness in a Jedi robe. And here's the thing about the Force that makes this analogy land for me. In my upcoming book, I write that we need to stop treating time as a resource to spend or control and start treating it as a relationship to tend. The Force doesn't work through control. Neither does time. Both require participation. Both require presence. Both reward attunement over domination. Qui-Gon knew that. The Jedi Council didn't. So what do you actually do with this? First, audit your absolutes. Where are you running a Jedi Council in your own life? What rules have calcified into laws? What systems are you defending out of habit rather than because they're actually serving you? Qui-Gon wouldn't judge himself for having an off day. He would simply adapt, trust the process, and move forward. Second, replace always and never with "it depends." Not as a cop-out, as a practice. I should never multitask turns into "it depends on the task and the day." That shift removes self-judgment and allows for nuance and flexibility. Two things rigid systems actively suppress. Third, ask a different question. Most productivity advice asks, what's the best way to work? The better question? What is the best way to work for me right now, given my circumstances? That's not weakness, that's wisdom. That's Qui-Gon. I wrote about Qui-Gon Jinn in the Productivity Diet as a model for flexible productivity. But he's been living in my head ever since as something much more than that. As a model for an entirely different relationship with time and work. That's what my upcoming book, Productiveness, is about. Not another system, not another set of rules to follow or fail at. The philosophy beneath the systems. The principles that hold when everything else slips. If this resonated, drop a comment. I'd genuinely like to know, where are you still dealing in absolutes? And what would it look like to stop? Links to the Productivity Diet and more on productiveness are in the description. And if you want to go deeper with me on this in real time, I go live every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Pacific. Just check it out, set a notification bell, and I'd love to see you there. May the Force and time be with you.